What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about Elden Ring in this particular video. And by the way, this is going to be cross-posted across both my channels. This is one of my favorite games that has been made. I never would have thought myself to be a player of a game in the Souls genre. And I think this is probably the only game in the Souls genre that I've actually beaten. The others I've played a little bit, I started, but they never really did hit like Elden Ring did hit. But there is a controversy. Should we call it a controversy, or should we just say there's right now a discussion going on the internet? I think that's probably the better way to put it because, in light of the Elden Ring DLC, which I think is probably the one video game that I'm looking forward to playing. Yes, I called the DLC for Elden Ring a video game because we know it's going to have, a substantial amount of content that will make it feel like a new release, maybe a small AA release in a sense. And that is, what did Judge R.R. Martin actually, add to this project anyways? There's this conversation going on like, was it necessary to say, okay, he basically kind of formulated some of the lore in this world and such. So Little Church Lore actually, made this thread, and I think we should just, look at it. Now, some of you may or may not be Elden Ring fans, but there is a reason this game has resonated very well. I think we were coming out of the cusp of a lot of bogus video games, and one video game comes out and they basically takes all of the video game traditions and throws them all out and makes a refreshing experience. And I think that's why it resonated. You fired up a game that was so big and so beautiful and so complex, and nobody basically told you what to do. The game basically kind of tells you, but it's like you should be able to figure this out. And I think the player agency was just so good and refreshing, and you felt like a gamer. That's basically what it felt like. So George R.R. Martin, this is a quote, brought things to the table that we couldn't have done by ourselves in terms of that rich storytelling and that sense of character and drama. This is something that was mentioned by Mr. Miyazaki in, I think probably an IGN or ING. I don't know what this ING means. Is this like a title? I don't know. Please help me, somebody. There are 5 contributions, and these are 5 contributions of George R. R. Martin to Elden Ring. It's a thread. Number 1, the concept of Shadow of the Earth Tree was conceived and written by George. This concept served as the original mythos for From Software and Hidetaka Miyazaki to build upon. So apparently the Earth Tree, which is pretty much the huge source of focus. Once you fire up the game, you can see it from almost everywhere, in the entire game. This is it right here. It's actually pretty cool. Then number 2 said Martin created the core mythology, history, and lore as a foundation for Elden Ring's world and narrative. The mythology that Martin wrote was very fascinating. It was mysterious and deep. It was a myth, but also a history or an epic poem. This is what, Hidetaka Miyazaki said, and Famitsu, I think Famitsu is the source where this actually came from. Number 3, Martin wrote the main characters, the demigods, one main theme of the main bosses of the game, in particular, and that they're essentially demigods and characters who are written, again, by George, Martin. Very cool. Number 4, the main, this says, Martin contributed the unique plots and motifs, such as character conflicts and parent-child relationships that Miyazaki says were implemented in the game. So Godfrey, the Elden Lord, and, basically the Omen, the Blood Omen Morg and Morgoth, Queen Marika, the Eternal, and then you basically see, Golden the Golden, Mikela. All of the relationships, they're kind of weird. You'd have to go watch Vati Vidya's videos to basically kind of like follow some of the deep lore or some hypothetical, lore elements, I think, in some cases. Maybe they're not hypothetical. Maybe they're actually, things. But I was like, I didn't see that in the game. So in my mind, I'm thinking they're hypothetical. And then number 5, he coined the name The Lands Between. The Lands Between is a name that was invented by George R.R. Martin himself when he was coming up with the impetus for this world and writing its history and its deep mythos. So I think this is actually pretty cool to be able to go ahead and see that, Elden Ring, which was for the most part accused of having basically no story and no lore. You guys remember that? Remember, that was a controversy. They were like, well, what's the story in Elden Ring? There's no story. There actually was. There genuinely was. I think for the most part, a lot of people basically kind of wanted to just cover their ears. And the game was kind of abrasive to what people had basically sat down to understand as video games. It really did come in hot to basically topple a lot of the video game norms that we were starting to see, because these games are starting to become, somewhat patronizing, and handholdy and all of that stuff. And Elden Ring just came in and was like, we're not going to do that to the player. And they provided a world that basically told a story. And seeing how this world that told a story was crafted by somebody who is a respected storyteller really does bring things to a whole new conversation and a whole new level. And yes, I don't have Elden Ring, footage on this computer because I think I moved it. I'm sorry. Hey, you get Hogwarts Legacy. It's, dragons and stuff. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you guys this time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Peace out.